So UFC at 318, Holloway versus Poirier, 3 wrapped up. And you know what, I shot on this card. I said it was a bad pay per view. It was actually very good. Like, I knew the fights would be entertaining. And I guess they did exceed expectations. The majority of them did. So, that is what you want to hear. That's what you want to see. When it comes to UFC card, like, yeah, on paper, it maybe looked a bit weak, but it did turn out to be a banger card. So, I'm not going to shit on the card at all. It exceeded my expectations 100%. But let's get into the fights. We had the first fight of the night. We had Carly Judice getting the TKO, knee to the liver, and ground strike. Beautiful finish by Carly Judice. She should be 7-0. She's actually a beast. I really like Carly Judice. She's probably my favorite woman fighter just because she actually comes and stands and bangs. She goes in there trying to knock people out. And you got to respect that. She's a violent woman, and I love it. Shout out Carly Judice. Then we had Bruno Ferreira versus Jackson McVeigh. Now, I picked Jackson McVeigh to win this. This not a good prediction, but I actually thought he was looking alright. He was fighting a pretty good game plan, but Ferreira just showed amazing armbar reversal on Jackson McVeigh. He did also land a good leg kick where it seemed like that maybe like Jackson McVeigh was like, oh, fuck, no. Maybe it was a big step up too for Jackson McVeigh. I actually think he's going to be very good. And I stand by that. This was a big step up for him, but I honestly think he's pretty good. He had some close moments in this fight where he was like almost getting the back, but got reversed and ended up getting armbarred. But I think he's pretty good. But Ferreira wins. Shout out to Bruno Ferreira. Got the win. And then moving on up, we had Ryan Spann versus Lucas Bresky. Ryan Spann. Actually, he looked like fucking Gordon Ryan out there. And that's not because Ryan Spann's that good. I think it's just because Lucas Bresky's not that good. But it is crazy in hindsight because Lucas Bresky was able to beat Walter Walker somehow. He's going on a massive streak of just fucking heel hooking everybody. But somehow Lucas Bresky, who just got destroyed by Ryan Spann, got made to look like a noob. He just immediately gets taken down, subbed, guillotined by Ryan Spann. But somehow Walter Walker is easy task for Lucas Bresky. I don't know, this sport makes no sense, man. But good performance by Ryan Spann. This is how he should have fought against Walter Cortez Acosta. But instead he just threw like a fat heavyweight on his move up. But he looks like he's a bit better now in the weight class. He's getting used to the heavyweight division. And he gets the win here over Ryan Spann. He gets the win here over Lucas Bresky. Then we had Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. It's good to see Jimmy Crute get a win. It's been 5 years since he last won. I think it was against Modestas Bukauskas, so it is crazy it's been that long. But it's good to see Jimmy Crute get a win. He arguably could have beat Bellato. He came very close, but I knew he would win this one. He's not as bad as people make him out to be. Yeah, is he a world killer? Like, is he is he elite? No, not yet. Could he be elite? Maybe, possibly. I don't think he looked amazing in this fight. His striking's still very worrying, but his grappling is elite. His grappling's always been the best part of his game. I remember when he was trying to be a striker. I'm glad he stopped with that approach. He looked good. He got a pretty slick armbar in this fight. We had not back-to-back armbars, but we had 2 armbars on the same card on the early prelims. Very high-level stuff when it comes to the jiu-jitsu from Jimmy Crute, and he gets a really good finish. Marcin Prachnio is not that bad. He's not a bad fighter, He beat Khalil Roundtree, so just how good is Jimmy Crute? Khalil Roundtree couldn't survive this monster. I mean, he went to a decision, but he couldn't take this monster. He went 3 rounds with him. Jimmy Crute, easy early stoppage in the first round via armbar. But yeah, no, great performance by Jimmy Crute. He's probably going to be fighting on the Perth card. I said that maybe he should fight Tuco Tokos. But honestly, maybe Jimmy Crute versus Navo Sterling would make a lot of sense. Both want to fight on that card more than likely. Both in the same division. I think it makes a lot of sense. We should do Jimmy Crute versus Navo Sterling. Grappler versus striker to the extreme. Then we had Islam Dulitov make his debut against Adam Fugit. Absolutely destroys him on the feet. Great performance by Dulitov. He calmed down a bit. He didn't go out there as the full berserker he normally is. And I liked it. It was a very appropriate, mature performance by Dulitov. He showed that he doesn't just go out there and berserk. He can be a bit more patient. And he looked good. Showed good takedown defense when Fuji would shoot. And And yeah, just looked good. Crazy this guy was ever a bantamweight. His first fight was a bantamweight. I don't know if he was 6'4" then, but however tall he is, 6'3". But he looked really good. Really good performance by Islam Dulatov. And it'll be interesting to see what is next for Dulatov. You know, it'll be interesting to see who they give him. I think he's a pretty good prospect in that welterweight division. And I'm excited to see his next fight, you know. Maybe he could do him versus Kevin Holland if he wins another fight, given Kevin Holland lost. Or maybe that's probably a step too soon, actually. Yeah, let's just give him maybe like Nico Price or Alex Morono, something like that. Actually, they'll probably do Alex Morono versus Kevin Holland next because they want to get Holland back on a win. But regardless, good performance by Islam Dulatov. The welterweight division's got another pretty fun prospect. You know, the last Dana White Contender Series got us a lot of good welterweight prospects, so I'm pretty keen to see these guys eventually match up against each other. Dulatov versus Andreas Gustafsson could be fun down the line. Islam Dulatov versus Jacoby Smith could be fun down the line. Him versus Sanko could be a fun. I think his name was Sanko Ko. But anyway, Ko, you guys know what I'm talking about. The guy beat Open Elliott. There's a lot of good welterweights that come from last season of the Dana White Contender Series, so I'm pretty keen to see these guys eventually all fight each other. But great performance by Islam Dulatov. And Adam Fuji didn't look too bad either. Hopefully he gets another fight. He's a legitimate tough guy. He's a good fighter. You know, he got finished here, but he gave him a tough fight. You know, he gave Islam Dulatov a good first round. Then we had Atiba Gutierrez versus Robert Valentin. This was just a one-sided assault from Atiba Gutierrez. The guy's good. This guy's very good. He's powerful. As soon as he hurt Valentin, Valentin quit. I don't mean it in a way like, oh, he's a quitter or anything. I mean, like, literally he just folded. As soon as he got hurt, he did not want to exchange with this monster anymore. And I don't blame him, you know. He seems like he's got some insane power. He's from Cameroon. Same place as Francis Ngannou. And I think that he is literally the middleweight Ngannou. He's got the power. He throws strikes very similar. Maybe a bit more technical with the boxing than Ngannou, sorry. I like it. I really like Atiba Gutierrez. Book him against Cedric Dumas. Let's get Dumas brutally KO'd. I think that makes the most sense. The guy's a criminal. He beats women. Let's get Gutierrez to brutally bash him. You know, let's get Gutierrez to put him first round. Absolute destruction on the feet. Let's do it. Gutierrez versus Dumas. Book it. Quick turnaround. Gutierrez took no damage. Let's get him right back in there. Dumas was meant to fight a couple of weeks ago. Let's do it. Book him against Gutierrez. Makes all the sense in the world to me. Then we had Nikolai Verketanov versus Francisco Prado. I picked Nikolai. He won. This was the one underdog I got on the card. I thought, yeah, you know what, this is a good underdog pick. He'll win. And he did. He got it done, but Jesus Christ, he has some of the worst fight IQ I've ever seen. He kept spinning. Every time he'd spin, he'd get his back taken, he'd get taken down. One of the most stupidest things I've ever seen a fighter do. I was actually so mad when he done it, but he did still get the decision. I thought he actually won. I thought he took the first two rounds. Slammed Prado, but Prado somehow survives. Second round, he sort of looked like he dropped Prado. At the very least, he hurt him much more than Prado hurt him in the second round. Third round, all Prado. But I actually don't mind. A lot of people were saying robbery, but I don't mind Nikolai getting the first two rounds. Prado just needs to realize he's not a welterweight. I know he apparently walks around 190 pounds or something, but cut some fucking muscle or something. Chisel your chin. Like, I don't know. Stop eating such solid foods. Like, you need to shrink your jawline or something. I don't know, but you've got to stop fighting at welterweight. You're not built for welterweight. You're too small for welterweight, man. You have a 68-inch reach at fucking welterweight. You're too small. Like, Nikolai looked massive in there. He looked so much bigger. Gets the win. And Prado probably gets cut, but I think he'll be one of those guys who goes on a win streak on the regional scene and he'll be back. I think he'll make a lot of improvements. He's good. He is good, but he needs to go back to his natural weight class or at least build muscle or something. I don't know. I think he needs to stay. Go back to lightweight somehow. That's your weight class, bud. But you look, you know, it was a good third round by him, but unfortunately doesn't get the win. Then we had Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori. This fight was actually crazy. This was a back and forth slugfest. This is the closest I've seen to Marvin Vittori probably getting chinned. He seemed like he was badly hurt with some of them shots, but again, didn't get dropped or anything crazy like that. But it just seems like he was not taking those shots too well. But he did end up winning. Not winning, sorry. Brendan Allen ended up winning, but he ended up surviving. He actually hurt Brendan Allen a couple of times, but they gave every round to Brendan Allen. I thought that 29-28 was the scorecard. I think it was the second round I thought Vittori won. Just seems like his shots were hurting Allen quite a lot. But also I think the visible damage, because Vittori's a bit of a bleeder, it probably wasn't a good visual for the judges to see him covered in blood. Because Allen did badly hurt his nose. He did break his nose, I'm pretty sure, of Marvin Vittori early in the first round. So after that, every time he got hit, his nose was just a crimson mask. His face was a crimson mask, which makes a lot of sense. He took some big shots. Brendan Allen couldn't really get anything done with the grappling. Marvin Vittori would reverse it, get on top, start landing some big shots. It was a fun fight, man. It was a good fight. I picked Marvin Vittori. Marvin Vittori didn't get this one done. I really thought he would get it done, but unfortunately, Brendan Allen gets it done. I think you got to do Brendan Allen versus Paulo Costa next. Makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. I had somebody say, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. Why would Brendan Allen? Why would Brendan Allen fight backwards?" Well, maybe because he's fucking 1-2 in his last three. I think that would be a good reason why he would fight backwards. He doesn't deserve a step up. The only guy available is Izzy. I mean, you could maybe do Brendan Allen versus Izzy, but I don't know. Don't think it makes too much sense right now. And you can't do Allen versus Strickland too, especially because Strickland's already smoked him before. So I like Allen versus Costa. I think that's a fun fight. And Costa probably wins that fight, to be honest with you guys. Costa looked pretty good. Not that I think Kopilov's better than Allen or anything like that, but Costa looked really good. I mean, I'll get to him. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. Then moving on up, we had Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. This was a really weird fight, to be honest. Neither of these guys didn't look particularly technical in this fight. Oliveira looked very gritty, showed good cardio, but his technique just went right out of the toilet. There was no technique here, but he had to fight. He had to fight a dirty fight. I understand. Kyler Phillips looked good in the first round, but as is the trend of Kyler Phillips' career. Looks good, but just too much movement, too many big moves, and he gasses. I mean, makes a lot of sense. He was throwing spinning attack after spinning attack. He was moving all over the place. Oliveira was also putting the pace on him. So much pressure in this fight. And, he gets the win. Oliveira breaks him down, gets a 29-28 decision. Good scorecard. It's the only way you can really score it. First round clearly goes to Kyler Phillips. Hurt Oliveira a couple times too. I don't know if he was actually concussed, but he did drop him. Maybe it was more of an off-balance thing, but good performance there in the first round by Kyler Phillips. But these fights go for 3 rounds, not 1, so unfortunately just winning 1 round isn't enough, and Vinicius Oliveira gets the win. And I think it was a good performance. After all is said and done, it was a good performance over a tough guy who has a win over Song Yadong. It's not like Kyler Phillips is some guy who hasn't beat anybody good. He did beat Song Yadong, people forget, man. But yeah, Vinicius Oliveira gets it done. Then we had Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. I was so close to picking Michael Johnson. I'm actually so annoyed that he won. I really wanted to pick Michael Johnson, but I just thought the age difference would be too much. There's like a 14-year age gap between these two. But Michael Johnson's still beating good prospects, still beating young up-and-comers at almost 40 years of age in the lightweight division. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. I don't know who the fuck you even give Michael Johnson next. Michael Johnson versus Colin Salgood in Perth. I mean, I doubt Johnson wants to travel to Australia, but that could be a cool fight. Maybe Michael Johnson versus Tom Nolan. There are some cool fights you could do, but maybe even Michael Johnson versus Benoit Saint Denis could be a cool fight. But regardless, Johnson looked really good. A lot of good body attacks in the first round. He was also, dropped Daniel Zellhuber in the second. He still got that speed, still got that power. Showed a really good performance. Third round, obviously, slows down, gets kicked up a lot. But all said and done, good performance by Michael Johnson. Wins 29-28. Is another win you can add to the fucking column. He was beating veterans. His last couple of wins were against veterans. Like, who's he beat on his win streak? I think it was Darius Flowers, and then it was Ottoman and Zaitar, two veterans or not even like high level dudes. But like beating Daniel Zellhuber is actually a solid win, to be honest with you guys. So very good performance there by Michael Johnson against a young up and comer, a guy who's had some pretty decent performances. But I don't know, I should have known he would lose to another veteran. I mean, the guy lost to Trey Ogden. Why was I doubting the menace? Why did I doubt the menace? But Zellhuber gets it done. I mean, gets done. He gets beat up. Michael Johnson gets it done. Sorry, my bad. Then we had Patricio Pitbull versus Dan Ige. I got the whole main card wrong, by the way, guys. I just put it out there. I was doing very good on the prelims. I got my Nikolai underdog pick. I was like, damn, man, I might actually do really good. I got the Jackson McVeigh pick wrong, but I'm actually doing really good this card. Every fight after Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips, I didn't get a single fight right. But I can't imagine many other people got these fights right because these are some crazy fucking predictions that nobody could have really predicted. Like these outcomes are not the most predictable outcomes in the world. But, Patricio Pitbull did a good performance. Get badly dropped in the third round. Ige looked like he almost got the finish, but Patricio Pitbull recovered quickly. He had a good takedowns. He actually badly hurt Ige, which is very rare. You don't really see Ige that hurt. We've seen him drop before, but that's the most hurt in recent memory I've seen Dan Ige. So that was really impressive on Patricio Pitbull's end. And Pitbull looked a lot better this fight. He's actually got a win, so that's good. It's good to have Pitbull get a win. It's a new face. He hasn't really fought anybody in these divisions. Obviously, Yair destroyed him, but came back, had a good performance, beat up the ring rust. Maybe the UFC nerves, maybe not ring rust, but UFC nerves. And he got a win. He got a UFC win, so that's good for him. He's 1-1 in the UFC now. And a lot of people have come into the UFC, lost their debut, but then they go on to have some pretty good performances. Is Patricio Pitbull going to be one of those guys? I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to go on to be champion or a title contender by any means. But it was still very impressive against a tough opponent in Dan Ige. So good win there by Patricio Pitbull. Then this is the fight that shocked me the most. Daniel Rodriguez beat Kevin Holland. How the fuck did Kevin Holland let this happen? Not that Daniel Rodriguez is horrible, but he's looked really not the best. He's looked a bit past his prime in his last couple of fights. Against Alex Morono, he arguably lost to Morono. Against Santiago Ponzinibbio, he was losing until he got the KO. But somehow he's the first person to almost chin Kevin Holland on the feet. Obviously Kyle Dorcas got that fucking weird headbutt, but that doesn't count. But Daniel Rodriguez is the closest we've ever seen to Kevin Holland getting put out cold in a legal fashion. Which is shocking to me considering the hard hitters. And you're telling me that fucking Daniel Rodriguez, almost 40 years of age, is the guy who's going to go out there and almost chin Kevin Holland. That blew me away, to be honest. That was shocking. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Every big shot just seemed to hurt Holland. I think his chin's going, and that's pretty bad because Holland has relied on his chin quite a lot. But yeah, good performance by Daniel Rodriguez. Third round, Kevin Holland almost got the finish, and I think he would have got the finish if he didn't keep going for those weird knees that were doing no damage. He badly hurt D-Rod a couple of times. It was almost a 10-8, but then Rodriguez ended up getting a takedown, got top mount, landed some big shots, ended up stealing it back to a 10-9 to Holland. But yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy fight. It was a really good fight. Somehow I didn't get fight of the night. I thought this was the fight of the night, but yeah, Kevin Holland lost to Daniel Rodriguez in 2025. Crazy. Daniel Rodriguez lost to Neil Magny. It is crazy. I don't know how Kevin Holland managed to fumble this. But he did. But Daniel Rodriguez looked pretty good. This is the best he's looked in a while at his oldest. But good performance by Daniel Rodriguez. I mean, every time somebody fights, they're going to be at their oldest. But he looked improved. Somehow didn't look as washed as he did in his last couple of fights. And he's on a 3-fight winning streak, which is crazy to say. But yeah, Daniel Rodriguez, good performance. Maybe you do Daniel Rodriguez versus Jake Matthews next. I think that makes some sense when it can get a ranked opponent. I mean, Daniel Rodriguez is going to be ranked in 2025, but he called out Jake Matthews in his last fight. Jake Matthews is on a good run. I think that fight would make some sense. So let's do it. Jake Matthews versus Daniel Rodriguez. Then we had Paulo Costa versus Roman Kovalev. Paulo Costa came out looking like vintage Paulo Costa. This looks like the guy who walked down Yoel Romero. Looked very good. Roman Kovalev just didn't show up at all. Third round, he sort of started landing some big shots, but he was still too little too late. Paulo Costa looked really good. It was good to see him, finally get a win. It's been a while since he fought Luke Rockhold, and that performance wasn't as good as this. But against Roman Kovalev, badly hurt him. He got some knockdowns in that fight, and just masterclassed him on the feet, which was very impressive. Now, we know Roman Kovalev has always been a slow starter. So I was like, all right, yeah, he's lost the first round, but that's like typical of Roman Kovalev. He always loses the first round, but he just kept losing. Paulo Costa just kept moving forward. The pressure, Roman Kovalev just couldn't find his range. He just stayed in the pocket with Paulo Costa, who's got a 72-inch reach, which is very silly. Like, you're the longer fighter. You should stay back and kick a bit more. But Paulo Costa just kept it at his range. For a lot of leg kicks, we've seen a lot more leg kicks there from Paulo Costa. A lot of body rips, as he used to always go to the body, and that was very good. Very nice body work. And he just beat the shit out of Roman Kovalev. Very impressive performance. Paulo Costa versus Brendan Allen. Book it next. He called out Hamza Chimaev. I mean, Chimaev's fighting Dricus du Plessis for the title. You're not going to get that fight next. But you beat Brendan Allen, you're right up there for a shot against Hamzat if he loses. And if Hamzat wins, who knows? There's beef there. They could rebook that fight. Then we had Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. I picked Dustin Poirier. I really thought he was about to get it done in the second round. First round, he almost got KO'd. Because Max Holloway has crazy KO power at lightweight, it appears. Just punches so much harder. His chin didn't look that bad. He did get dropped in the second round, which was worrying. But, I mean, Dustin hits hard. He should have got a knockdown the second time they fought anyway. So it's not like, his chin's done. Max Holloway's still durable as ever. Maybe not as durable. His durability's definitely gone down, but he's still got an above-average chin because he ate some big shots. Got dropped once, but didn't get put out or anything like that. Great performance by Max Holloway, man. I thought I had it scored 49-46 to Holloway. As much as I wanted Dustin to win, I just couldn't give him any round outside of the second. Maybe the fourth, you can give him the fourth, but I think 49-46 Holloway is how it should be scored until the judges agreed. But if anyone wanted to give that fight to 48-47 to Holloway, I could also see that. But there's no way Dustin wins that, unfortunately. As much as I wanted him to win, it was just pretty clear Max Holloway won. It was a good performance. He showed a lot of class afterwards as well. And it's just a shame we're never going to get to see Dustin Poirier fight in the UFC again. I mean, most retirements in MMA don't really last that long, so maybe we'll see Dustin there again. There was just so many cool fights we could have seen, but that was a banger way to end it. Even though he didn't win, I actually think that was the perfect way to end his career, because he did still go in there and have a banger back-and-forth fight. It was a fun fight. And he didn't win, but he still went in there and showed he was fucking tough as nails. He went and had a great performance against a really good fighter. Somebody he's beat twice before, but Max Holloway is one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest featherweights at the very least of all time. I think Volk and Aldo are ahead of him, but he's still top three. He's a top three featherweight. And it was it was a fucking back and forth scrap. Dustin still showed he's a tough bastard. Didn't get the win, but he still, like I said, showed he's tough. Showed he was still in there, and he jumped the gilly for old time's sake. If he would have got that, it would have been an amazing end to his career, but still, he even got to jump the gilly, which is always fun to see. And yeah, it's going to be a shame. I hope we see Dustin versus somebody in boxing, or I hope he goes and starts doing like dirty boxing or something along those lines. Because I don't know, I still think he's got a lot in the tank. When it comes to all his boxing, maybe I don't want to see him in fights where he grapple, he's getting wrestled or anything. But if he was to go in there and have like a couple just little money fights and boxing, Zuffa boxing, or do some dirty boxing with for Mike Perry's promotion, I wouldn't mind seeing that. But maybe that's just me being selfish, because Dustin Poirier has always been one of the most entertaining fighters, and it's just going to be weird not watching him scrap. But we'll see what happens. He's 35. His chin didn't look too bad. He did get dropped, but like I said, Holloway just seems like he has some different power at lightweight. Either that, or it's just because these guys are a bit older. I guess we'll find that out when Max Holloway fights like a Dan Hooker or like a Fazeev, or fights one of those like older dudes. I mean younger dudes. Sorry, wrong. Thinking of it the wrong way. But yeah, great performance by Max Holloway. It'll be interesting to see who he gets next. He called out Ilya. You're not going to get Ilya in your next fight, but maybe you could do him versus Oliveira, him versus Fazeev, him versus Dan Hooker. There are some cool fights that are out there for Max Holloway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. I'm glad he took some time off after the Ilya KO. His chin looks like it's rejuvenated. And at lightweight, it seems like he's lightweight has always been his division. I feel like his power and his cardio is still very good. Probably the most fatigued I've seen him in a fight before, but he still, didn't gas like fully out. He wasn't like getting broken against the cage. And in the final 10 seconds, he still went out there. He did pointed out the center of the cage, and he went back and forth. They scrapped it out. Went really, really hard for the last couple of seconds. Dustin had to clinch because he was like, fuck this. So yeah, great performance by Max Holloway. Great performance by Dustin. We're gonna miss Dustin watching him fight. We'll see if that retirement fully lasts as long as he says it will. But Dustin seems like a guy, if he's properly retired, he seems like a guy who would really stick to his retirement. At the same time, it looked like he was regretting retiring in the cage. Like, it didn't look like he wanted to take his gloves off. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But still, regardless, great performance by both men. And yeah, it'll be awesome to see what happens next. Atiba Gutierrez, if anyone on this card is going to be a future champion, I'd say it's Atiba Gutierrez. I'm not saying he's 100% a future champion, but he's the only person, maybe Islam Dulatov, who I could see maybe being ranked one day. These are the guys I could see maybe going far one day, but Gutierrez, just because he's in a weaker division, I'd say Atiba Gutierrez could maybe be something. Plus, he's apparently 23, allegedly. I don't know if I believe that, because that man does not look fucking 23 years of age. He is older. I'm older than Atiba Gutierrez. Look at me. I'm a fucking baby face, man. This guy looks like he's gone through a mortgage. He's got like 5 kids at home. Like, I can't believe this man's 23 years of age. But maybe he is. If that's the case, just give him Dumas. Let him improve a bit more. Just let him demolish some of these shit middleweights while he improves, Well, I like Atiba Gutierrez, and I think he maybe is a potential title contender down the road. But we'll have to see him fight a few more better middleweights. But at the time being, let him just build up some highlights. But yeah, great card. Islam Dulatov, another guy to look out for. He's going to be a star. They gave him the whole star-like performance. They gave him an Instagram Live thing for his walkout to get the German fan base behind him. You don't really see them do that for the early prelims, at least not in recent memory. They normally do that for the main events and the opening of the pay-per-views. So that was very cool to see. So obviously I think they see a lot of star potential in Dulatov. So they're probably going to give him a pretty favorable matchup next time around. But great performance by Dulatov. Good card. I shat on it a little bit, but it was a lot better. Exceeded expectations. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, put on notifications. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.